Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the Nerd BS podcast. This is episode 10 of the Nerd BS podcast, which stands for Nerd Big Sky, where we talk about things that are in the sky, often such UFOs and planes, and we're just all about the general big sky, the big open world out there. Isn't that right, fellas?
It's a good old astronomy podcast right here. So,
Not really, not really. It's Nerd BS, which means nerd backstory, which is a way of saying we want to talk about the nerd things we do throughout the weeks of our lives. And with me, as always, is Tomas. You spoke first,
yep, I'm here.
and Alan.
Yeah, I'm over here. I want to believe, and with all the with all the UFO stuff getting leaked, that wouldn't be too far fetched to be doing one of those podcasts right now.
Uh, Everything is exposed now. Everything is out in the open.
I think if they found something, there'd be something major being posted, but I haven't seen anything extreme that the government was hiding.
There ain't. It ain't out there, man. Stop believing. Okay. Anyways, let's get to what we actually. I mean, that is kind of nerdy stuff.
We are here to crush all forms of creativity on this podcast.
No. We're just focusing it on to what we want it to be.
Yeah, in fact, we love
So
creativity. That's why we love all the stuff we talk about.
we're gonna crush your hopes and dreams that UFOs and aliens are a thing, but everything else is open. So let's get started. Alan, you had something to kick us off here. It is a ska album. I just found out about this. I will probably report on it next time we have a podcast, but tell us about this new album.
Yeah, we don't talk about music very much, but I think all of us enjoy music quite a bit, myself included. I mean, I've talked about music before on this podcast, but in particular, like you said, there is a new ska album from Five Iron Frenzy, one of my favorite. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think it was in like middle school when I even heard them for the first time, and they died and they came back.
Mhm.
But I've been involved in their Kickstarter campaigns, but this one came out and it surprised me as I pushed it to the side for a little bit. I was just trying to catch up on my podcast, but I started listening to it a couple days ago and I can't stop. It's on loop. It's an amazing album. It's probably the most political album they've done. They do brush on those political topics and things happening in our society and history. But this album particularly, they really pushed it. You can tell that they've all been going through some stuff. It's probably a lot of the same stuff we all have in America right now with our politics and everything else. And the music really is a good soundtrack for that. Just but at the same time, like I said, the music is amazing. It sounds good. It's all catchy as normal, and it's got a similar uh, feeling, but is very unique and new. And
Cool.
I know you listen to Five Irons quite a bit. They kind of change, they kind of mix up their sound, uh, a little bit per album, and this one is no different. So expect a little bit of new, but you have enough there.
What would be like I want to listen to it from start to end, but what would be a good like what's one of the favorite songs from it? Because I'm looking at the list right now.
There's actually a couple good songs on here. Uh, for instance, I really like Tyrannies. Sylvie Sing's really good. Renegades is great. Uh, yeah, the whole album is just wonderful. It's hard to really focus in on one or two songs. There's even a song, "While Supplies Last," that was on Ska Against Racism.
Hmm.
Which that album came out, and actually, I think most people thought we weren't going to get it on this album because they actually specifically said we wouldn't, but it showed up on there,
There it is.
and there it is. It's a great song as well. It's uh, like I said, the whole album is just amazing. As I like to I pointed out on Twitter, it slaps.
Oh boy.
I think that's
Well,
what I mean.
I can't wait to listen to it. It seems like every 4 years we get a lot of political music, Uh, coincidence? I don't know. But speaking of every 4 years, the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 4 is here. It launched with WandaVision this week, or it was last week, with 5 days ago as of this recording. But I have not been privy to watching it yet because I have a 2 week HBO trial, and I'm trying to pump out everything I can out of those 2 weeks on HBO. But after that's done, I'm gonna go right back to catch up on that. But have you guys started it?
Well, I haven't seen it yet either. I keep playing with the idea that I'm gonna start it, but I have other things that I'm watching still, and I'm like, okay, I need to finish this.
Uh,
I started Cobra Kai, and
oh yeah,
yeah, which by the way, we should have a whole podcast on that. You and I
yeah.
probably could because I have some. It's one of those shows that's like hard for me to watch because right now I'm like both of them are complete. Like I'd want to root for either of you guys.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah,
both suck.
exactly. Yeah, great.
So, but yeah, I've been watching that, and so I haven't really started yet. But it actually kind of frustrates me that they're starting with WandaVision when before the whole virus happened and everything, we were supposed to kickstart it with the new Black Widow movie, and I really wanted
Mm,
to see that. And I am kind of annoyed that they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, we already made you wait what a year, over a year, like, and we're gonna make you wait some more." So my bad.
I think the reasoning for that is they're hoping that come May, when it's just the new release date, that they'll be able to potentially release into theaters. We'll see where
mm.
we at that point, but I think that's what they're hoping for.
Yeah,
Whereas WandaVision's a show and doesn't really need that theatrical experience.
yeah, I understand that, but it's still it just kind of really frustrates me because I was actually pretty excited for the Black Widow show. I'm not
Movie.
gonna lie. I was movie, yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I really wanted to see Taskmaster. I thought Taskmaster was gonna be awesome. To see I and at that point I was kind of like I don't really care if I see it on the big screen or not. I just want to see it cuz I
Mm.
had because by at that time like my back had gone out, so I had already seen Endgame at home. I had missed Endgame in the theaters. So I was like, well, can't be any worse than missing Endgame. So like
I suspect
Patience.
that there will be a lot more home releases going forward
Well,
than
there will be because as
before.
we talked about before, W has already confirmed WB that they're going to be doing all home releases, even when theaters open up. They'll be mixing it as in it'll come out on both. So yeah, you're completely accurate on
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And I think even
Yeah.
Disney's going to probably do that as well. They just want to be able to release it on both. They'll probably do the same thing they did with Mulan, where you pay the extra. Um,
Yeah, but they didn't make you pay for Soul. Did you guys watch that movie?
I did not watch it. I
That
have it ready. Yeah, I have it ready to watch. But, yeah.
like my fiance and I like she's made me swear that I can't watch that without her. So
well, yeah, you should save that one. That's so good.
I've heard it's very good, but I haven't seen it either. That's why I got it ready to watch.
is it gonna make me cry, Kyle?
Yes.
It's
I mean,
Pixar.
come
It'll
on.
make you cry.
Yeah,
That's the
it's
goal now.
That's what they do.
Actually, Toy Story 4, I was like, "Meh,
nah.
yeah, it was fine. It was a fine movie, but it didn't make me cry."
Toy Story 4 made me cry.
I think Up was the Pixar that got me the most. Oh no, no, the new Coke.
Coco?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a good one.
that one. Oof.
Get a little sidetracked. Coming back to Marvel, which is what
Yeah, I
this
was gonna
topic
ask
was
you
about.
guys, out of the new movies coming out, and I'll list them here, I wanna know which one you're most excited for. You can only pick one. Just real quick, we have, and I'll going in order of release date. Black Widow, then we have Shang-Chi, then we have Eternals, then the next Spider-Man, it's not even titled, Then we have Thor, Love and Thunder, and then Doctor Strange. And those last two are not until 2022. But out of those, which one are you guys most excited about?
A difficult choice, but I think I'd have to go with Doctor Strange. I think
Mm,
I enjoyed the first one a lot, and I really wanted more from him. And they've been sprinkling him in to the other movies and such, but I really would like another focused Doctor
yeah,
Strange movie that's not his origin story.
yeah.
Although I do agree, I would love to see another Strange, and also, like I just said, I'm super excited for the Widow movie. I'm actually really excited for the Shang-Chi because I love martial art movies, and I hope that this is done in some type of vein like that, where we have a more
Yeah,
like Doctor Strange has brought us the magic. Tony Stark brought us the
engineering.
suit, yeah, the engineering in the suit, and and I feel like it'd be fun now to see like the I don't know the martial arts movies genre reborn.
Yeah, he seems like an interesting character. For me, it's the Spider-Man movies have been great. Like I think that one will be a hit, but Thor has been my favorite storyline, and those the third one only got better, really, as far as like overall visuals. And so I just love the Thor storyline, and that one looks like my favorite.
Uh, yeah, I was having a hard time picking between Thor and Doctor Strange because I really loved the last Thor Ragnarok. I really thought Ragnarok was really fun, and the whole I guess it's spoilers at this point. I don't know.
You could say it.
When you have
You said
Thor on
spoilers.
the ship at the end, where he kind of joins the Guardians, and they're kind of like hinting at that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That piqued my interest very much because I also love the Guardians. So I was like, oh, that's going to be really interesting as well. Uh, but I'm like really excited for all of this. I've been playing a game recently, and so a Marvel game, and this just is right up that alley, and I've been loving that and this. And then I watched WandaVision because of that. Uh, I was like really excited when I heard it was going to come out, and I kept thinking it was going to come out different dates. Like I thought it was the 11th, and then I thought it was a different date, and then I had every day I thought it came out, and I kept checking, and I don't know why I never remembered the 15th, but I actually watched it on the day of with my family. We watched it together, and it was really good. I don't know about say really good, but it was good. It was definitely a fun uh, show, and it had some X Files style hints at other things going on. But really, it focuses on this. At least the first two episodes on this black and white aesthetic, which it really goes along the lines of like I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
really focuses on that style, except for you have like a witch with powers, and you have a robot, and so they really focus on that. And to be honest, they do a really good job. It's really fun, uh, but at the same time, it's like we want it to be Marvel. It's like I really want the stuff that like they keep hinting at these things and these little weird things happen, and you're just like, oh, what is that? What is that? And then you're obviously not going to come to a conclusion yet because now it's a show, so you got to
Mm.
wait until more episodes come out. So they're definitely building up to something, but I didn't mind it. It was nice to see the intro again, the Marvel intro. I
Oh
hadn't
yeah.
seen it in a while because I haven't watched anything for a year, so it was really nice to see that again. Uh, Even after I watched that, I got really excited and I checked out the 616 show that's on Netflix, not Netflix, Disney Plus. That was really good as well.
Whoopsie.
If you want to watch some really cool historical documentaries on Marvel and things around Marvel, that's really fun. I really enjoyed it actually. Uh, and they also have a really cool Legends series right now. They only released two of them. There's one for Wanda and one for Vision. But they're really fun if you want to get caught up as well. If you want to get caught up, if you haven't seen the movies in a while, but you have seen them, but you're like, I don't really want to watch all those movies again. They're like 8 minutes, eight. I think the one's 7, one's 8, and they just cut all their bits from those movies in like a story-esque moment. So you get to watch their little their journeys through the MCU up until WandaVision. So they're really cool.
When you posted that, like, "Hey, check these out," I think my response was like, "How do you have the time?"
Yeah.
I thought it was like the Legends of Tomorrow show that had come
Oh,
out,
no, no, no.
and
Yeah.
so that's what when it was clarified for me what it was, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah," and but like I said, I still haven't hopped on there because I'm trying to get the most out of my HBO free trial, which, by the way, it turns out we might actually have HBO Max. We might have had it this whole time because my
Yeah.
wife got an email. She's like, "Oh, hey, it says we have HBO Max and you can get it on Roku now." I was like, "Wait, what?" And which I have some problems with HBO Max, but we could talk about that later.
Yeah. But still, yeah, that's a good transition. We got some. I guess you got some stuff you want to talk about that, but I'll just throw this news out there real quick before we start. This is kind of a big deal for me. I know you guys don't read a lot of comics, but I love reading comics. I've gotten year subscriptions to Marvel Unlimited and read a lot in chunks of time. I'm not sub now, but when I get the itch, I'll sub and I read tons of comics. And one of my biggest gripes was not being able to read DC Comics because they had no service like that. Well, fortunately, a couple shows that I know Kyle wants to talk about got
Mhm.
ported over to HBO Max, and now DC Universe, their DC app, is kind of become stale because they took off those shows. But now DC is planning on relaunching DC Universe as DC Universe Infinite, which will host all of their DC comics. Well, a large majority of the DC comics, not all of them. Like Marvel Unlimited, they're still adding older comics from time to time because there's a lot of obscure stuff they haven't scanned yet, I guess. So it takes time. They're also upping because I guess DC Universe used to do a year. You had to wait a year before it came out, before it'd be on that service. Well, now it's up to 6 months, which is fine. Just like Marvel Unlimited, basically, as long as you're cool being 6 months behind, just have the subscription and read all you want. And I'm excited for that. I love comics and I love reading comics, so this is really cool to be able to actually tap in that DC universe with a reasonable investment. Because Lord knows I cannot pay $4 per issue. I'm sorry, it starts
Yeah.
adding up way too quick.
Yeah, I used to collect comics, and you mentioned we don't read them much anymore, and it's not because I don't want to. It's more of just like you said, the price of it. I decided to collect video games rather than the comics itself, and I kind of miss that piece of it because there's a lot of things even in the older universes that I don't know about, like especially like when, take for instance the X-Men movies came out and I'm like, okay, wait, when did Apocalypse do that? And of course the movies just destroy
Mm.
any continuity or whatever, but
Yeah,
it's cool to like know what actually happened and go back. And so it look on the link you have here, there's a 7-day free trial, which is pretty cool. um, I just think I'm more of a Marvel guy, and this seems really late to the party because the Marvel subscription thing's been out for years, like maybe a decade, I feel like.
yeah. I know I've at least subbed 2 years personally, but I know it's been out way longer than that.
So yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot. But yeah, I've been watching the HBO Max, and Alan, you recommended the Titan show. I'm pretty sure
Oh
you talked
yeah.
about it on here,
Hmm.
and so I watched all or both seasons of that are out so far, and I think that's a different perspective because you're pacing out the episode, you're watching it with your kid, but
Yeah.
I just slammed them all out in a week, and
I probably could have. It's really good.
but I think it's better that you don't because it leaves a little bit of suspense and you don't get burnt out on the characters kinda like I did. Let me start with this, it's better than any of the movies that they put out by far. I think they should have went this route years ago with these movies.
Yeah.
Um, what did you think of Bruce Wayne, though, in season 2? Because he's not a spoiler, he's in episode 1,
Of
so
season 2, yes. But
yeah,
I
whatever.
enjoyed
Too
them.
late now at this point.
Yeah, you jumped over, but it doesn't matter. It's not that. it's honestly not that big of a thing because he's there throughout the entire series. I mean,
I meant like the actor though
yeah, uh,
himself.
I thought he was fun. I don't know who he is. He looks really familiar. I can't think of his name off the
I
top of my
yeah,
head. It's the actor.
yeah. I feel like is he's trying to be the Adam West Batman in a sense,
I didn't
right?
get that from him. I got an old Bruce Wayne in a way. I mean, definitely
Yeah.
this Bruce Wayne is obviously older, but uh, the age difference. What's a little confusing to me was the age difference between him and Jason Todd. But at the same time,
Uh, yeah.
I guess that makes a lot more sense if you take out the comic universe aspect, where comics
Yeah.
they don't age unless
Yeah.
they decide they age. So, like, I think the original Batman, at least from my recollection, he's gone through at least 3 or 4 Robins, and I know a couple of them went from kid or maybe even preteen to adulthood.
Mhm.
So that means he's gone through their lives, not to mention his own. So, he has to be pretty old if you really think about it.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
actually makes a
'Cause
lot of sense.
Dick Grayson's supposed to be, like, close to 30, So, in the show, at least, they all look like a bunch of them look like teenagers, and then some of them look older than they should be, but
Yeah, they definitely went kinda like the Young Justice route almost where, Dick is the older, more wiser was a sidekick, but now experienced and collecting these younger heroes that don't understand their powers, which is you have, like, Beast Boy, Raven, and,
they never call him Beast Boy.
they don't. Yeah, she's always Geyer.
Gar.
Gar.
Well, it's short for Garth, yeah.
Yeah, Garth.
But, I mean, yeah, I don't really mind that, and they never call her Raven either
No, they really don't.
around, but I guess that's fine, maybe that'll be the next season, but, to me, I got a lot of Adam West vibes from Bruce Wayne, not in a bad way, more of like the mature Adam West
I
kind
could
of
see that.
way, like if he had but like, I won't say anymore, but it was really good, like, I thought Bruce Wayne was on point, um,
I agree. I haven't finished it. You actually passed me, like you said, uh, but I've loved every bit I've watched. I mean, it is a TV show, and sometimes there's a little too much setup.
yeah.
Uh, that is the only downfall of it. It is very adult. They do not to the they actually yeah, there is. It is very, very adult. There's no nudity, but,
Uh,
they don't skimp on it, on the
it's pretty
letting you know it's
close.
an adult. Yeah, they get close.
There's a lot of butts in it,
Yeah, there's a lot of butts, that's for
a lot of
certain.
butts, and the first season was really heavy on the cussing, like, they tone it
Oh,
down
yeah,
because it just seemed like we're just cussing to cuss.
yeah.
Which is like, okay, at this point, I get it. You're angry teen titans or, they're not teens, but
Yeah, I think the way I described it before is, the to you even, was, it's made for those who grew up with the Teen Titans animated show and are now adults, and this is for them. This is their Teen Titans now. It is the
I
more adult,
guess.
gritty Teen Titans,
I
I
don't need it
guess.
to cut. I don't think adult means I'm gonna cuss more though. But
Yeah, but you know how it is though, like, everybody wants Deadpool to be rated R, and you know what that means, they're gonna have to curse a lot to get that rating or have the blood higher or
look, I don't mind the F bomb once in a while, but the first season at least, they were just going off.
just look at the Venom movie, I thought the Venom movie was pretty good, but people were pissed it wasn't rated R. Like, what could they have done, like, to make you happy to be rated R? I mean,
Well, okay, for me personally, I think that there are comics that should be rated. There are comic book movies that not should be rated R, but well, maybe should be rated R because I remember some of the old comics, man, and Wolverine puts his claws in someone and there was blood coming out all over the place. And like so there are some comics that definitely need that more visceral feel like Wolverine and Deadpool and things like that. But I don't think the Titans need that visceral feel like when when Robin or Beast Boy or maybe Beast Boy, I could explain the visceral, and I guess you could get really dark with Raven,
Yeah, they do.
but I don't feel the need to make them. I understand what Kyle's saying and understand what Alan's saying, but I kind of agree with Kyle more here that just because Dick Grayson swears more doesn't mean he's got big boy pants on now. It just means he's got an
Well,
attitude problem.
I'm not saying I'm for it being adult. I'm just saying that that's what people expect now. It seems like. I mean, when you have any new comic
Mm,
book movie nowadays, it seems like there's an uproar on Twitter if it doesn't get that R rating, even if they're not trying to
oh,
make an R rating
I see,
movie.
I see, I see.
It's like people are forcing the issue. Is what I was getting at.
Well, that's I don't agree with that.
And that's what I mean. And that's what I mean is that like I don't I don't understand what those people are forcing. And of course the industry then is going to make these movies because supply demand. If the people are demanding this, then they're going to give it to them. But I don't understand why people are shouting for this because when I read a Wolverine comic, yeah, I wanted there to be blood. But when I read a Batman comic, it was perfectly fine for me if he was punching someone in the face and they got one good hit in the face and then it went to a black panel because I knew what Batman was doing in that black panel.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we are
there's
getting a rated R Batman.
Yeah, and I don't know if it needs to be rated R. I mean, there could definitely be some villains that you could definitely get really dark
Yeah.
and creepy
You
with, but I'm sorry, you look at Dark Knight, it's probably one of the best renditions of a Batman movie we have, and it is not rated R.
you know it should have been rated R. Wonder Woman 84, right, Kyle? You've watched that. That would have fixed it right there, just to make it rated R.
no, that movie didn't need to be made at all. I it was an hour too long, uh, too many stories. I think you said all this last podcast, but I finally watched it. I watched it last night, and I saw the runtime, and I started it kinda late, and I was like, "You gotta be freaking kidding me." And it was an hour too long. It's 2.5 hours long, and there's no reason it needs to be that long. And Ju I'll just don't watch it. I say pass. I liked the first Wonder Woman movie, but they got rid of all the charm that made the first one fun and got rid of all the storyline. Like, any, like, emotional attachment you had to the characters is just like, "Let's just get rid of all that," and it's like, why did this movie was really excited for it, and I think it's a big flop. So, Tomas, you need to watch it so we can hear what you have to say, but
Yeah,
anyone else
I'd love to
listening,
see it.
it's a 2 thumbs down, whatever we're doing.
Yeah, it definitely killed, like, after Titans, I love Titans, and, so I wanted to push to watch those movies, and I started with Wonder Woman, and then I haven't watched any more after Wonder Woman 84, and I think that kinda put some water on my passion to watch the rest of them, and I still haven't done it yet. Not that I'm not planning on it still, I just haven't had the desire to go out of my way.
Yeah, those are still better, like Aquaman, and I would say Shazam is better than this one. Like, if it was an hour shorter, I might have even liked it because you coulda cut so much out of that movie and it would have been fun. This was not fun and it just blech. Anyways, there's another movie coming out, since we're on this bad taste in our mouth note. Jurassic World Dominion. That's the name they went with?
I guess. I don't know.
What
I
was the
haven't,
last one called? Jurassic.
uh,
Extinction,
Extinction. I don't even
See that?
remember.
I feel like that's the last one.
and it really should have been. It really should have been.
Yeah, that one was I haven't that it went from, like, mediocre to bad to what is this one gonna be?
I actually kind of liked the first rebirth of the Jurassic Park series, like the first new one that came out. What was that one? Jurassic.
I think it was just Jurassic World.
Yeah, Jurassic World. Like
Yeah, that was fun.
I liked that one. I was like, oh, this is a good breath of fresh air. I mean, there's some really ridiculous things here and some really dumb things, but
Sprinting in high heels.
but there were just as many retarded things that happened in the first like good one, like the doctor, I mean the lawyer in the potty with the T-Rex, like yeah, that was great. That was neat. And anyways, it was a I was I was excited for the next movie, and then the second one, which was Extinction, right? Was the second one?
Oh,
The second one?
Wasn't that Extinction? Or was there another one between that
Oh,
one and
no, you're
Extinction?
right. I thought you were talking about the first Jurassic Park 2. Okay,
Oh,
so yeah, yeah, I think so.
yeah. Like I thought the Extinction one was just like,
Fallen Kingdom. That was the second one.
okay. Yeah, I thought it was like it was very blah.
I forgot about it.
It felt like the same thing they did. And as far as I'm not a big fan of reboots, they've been getting better lately. But like I agree with you, Tomas, that that first Jurassic World movie with Chris Pratt and everybody, that was fine. I thought it was a nice one-off. And then they turn it into a trilogy of like, of course, they gotta milk that cow because it made money, and it's like, well, okay. And so
Lots of money.
I'm not looking forward to this
The
one.
second one also made tons of money as well.
I saw them both. I'm guilty of it, but I probably will skip this one. It's I gotta start putting my money where my mouth is.
You're smart. That is smart. I went and saw the first 2. I thought the first one was mediocre, and then the second one was bad. I don't think it was even bad, it was just forgettable. Like, I didn't even care. After I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I forgot what happened." I was more excited about at the end of it, I was more excited that they might actually do what I've always thought they should have done, which was basically have, like, an apocalyptic event with dinosaurs, uh,
Yes.
but they couldn't do that for some reason. And so I thought they were gonna do that, at the end of this last one, Fallen Kingdom, but I don't know if that's what's happening. I don't know anything about this movie, and I'm not super excited for it either.
Yeah. Well, let's move on then. We have some news. It's kind of related to movies, but EA, Electronic Arts, has become a behemoth in video games, and they have a 10-year deal with the Star Wars rights, and they've been the only company making Star Wars games for 8 years now because it ends in 2023. However, the news is we have that exclusivity is gone, and the Star Wars will be made by other companies. And in fact, there's like an open world Star Wars game that's supposed to be coming out in a couple years. I think done by Ubisoft. How can you be mad at that? To be honest, like,
Yeah, I'm excited for it because I think the Star Wars games worked best when, multiple people had access to it. We got lots of really good, games from that era. We got lots of bad games as well, so, I mean, that's what happens is you get a mixed bag. But I think I like the idea though, because now we're getting an open world from Ubisoft and EA. I don't really like exclusivity with a company like that, especially something like Star Wars. It shouldn't be exclusive. Uh, my only issue with this is I don't like the name Lucasfilm Games. I mean, what's wrong with LucasArts? Why don't they just go back to that? I mean,
um, I don't know why, but I feel like you kind of it's shut down, and there's a reason why it gets shut down, and you got to move on. I would love to see it come back personally. Like I'm with you, but from a business aspect, you have to move on from it, and it's just it's going to be a little confusing. Maybe they should have done Skywalker games. I don't know, something different because it is just confusing now.
yeah, Lucasfilm Games. Yeah, it's really weird. But I think the most exciting thing about this, even though the Star Wars open world thing, which is I'm a little skeptical because I'm kind of curious where they're going to go with it. Because the only issue is I guess you could fly to other planets. I hope, but if you can't focus on one planet. At least I don't. You could, but I wouldn't like that. So the problem is with Star Wars is their planets are always pretty linear. The whole planet is like one thing, so that kind of makes the aspect of going to different planets make more sense. But I think the most exciting thing about this whole ordeal was the Indiana Jones game. We haven't got an Indiana Jones game in God knows how long,
I think the
and
Wii had one.
yeah, uh, and what's really good about this is it's at the helms. Okay, take it or leave it, because Bethesda does a lot of good, but they also do a lot of bad as well. Uh, their games, a lot of them come out really, really broken, but not the ones made by Machine Games, who makes the Wolfenstein games, the reboot, the new Wolfenstein games. And if you've played those, they're actually really good. So hopefully we get some potential from that. Todd Howard himself is an executive producer on the project. Uh, which will eventually be a
Same
product.
thing. It's
Yeah,
just yeah, it's exactly.
but it is by Bethesda. So I don't know if I said that already. I think I may
You
have.
did.
But I mean, Bethesda's a big name. Wolfenstein Games is one of the few games that I don't like first person games, but I really want to play those games because I love the aesthetic and they know how to make really weird
Yeah.
historical things. And so I really hope they get to do Indiana Jones justice. My only worry is they're going to be forced by Lucasfilm Games to make it a bit more family friendly, which I think Indiana
Oh,
Jones,
they
we've
will.
seen, yeah, the original trilogy. While it is family friendly, there's a lot in those movies that is very adult.
Well, you gotta remember, 1990s family friendly was a lot different than now family friendly.
But
Of course,
you're right, Tomas, but it's also Disney now who also owns the rights, and so they're gonna be like, "We want lots of people to we want lots of ages to play this."
yes.
So
And we all know that if you make a game, a teen rating, it's going to sell better than a mature game just on that fact alone. Uh, I mean, there are exceptions, but that is going to be the case. Anyways, it looks exciting.
Do we know which Indiana Jones they're making the game off of? Which one?
it is between Raiders of the Lost Ark and The Last Crusade because I just learned this today. Did you know Temple of Doom is a prequel?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
it blew my mind.
It's really
Had no
weird,
idea.
huh?
It is
Yeah.
crazy.
I
So
didn't know that.
it's
So
after
which
Raiders.
one is it? It's
That's the one with the where are they? I wanna say
What? Which one? What? Raiders?
Temple of Doom. Temple
Oh,
of Doom
Temple
is
of
with
Doom when he gets the heart ripped out.
yeah,
yeah,
the
They're like in the jungle. I don't
Short
know.
Round.
yeah.
Yeah.
The most annoying side character ever, that blonde
No.
girl, not Short Round,
Oh,
the
okay.
blonde girl. She was terrible. She
I everyone complains about her. She did her part, and it wasn't great, but she did her part.
there you go. You summed it up perfectly.
I mean, if we're talking about Wonder Woman 84, I would watch Temple of Doom 10 times before I watch that again.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but anyways, yeah, it's in between those movies, so prime indie.
Possibly getting Harrison Ford to voice Indiana Jones. That's based
Yeah.
on rumors.
So here's the thing. I got something to say about that. I don't mind that. I think it'd be cool, but because Keanu Reeves apparently does a really good job in Cyberpunk. But I've also, I think Arnold did some voices for the Terminator, and in a Mortal Kombat game, and it didn't come out great. It's like I've seen games that have a different voice actor for character, and it's fine. Yeah, I'm fine with either way.
Here's my question to you guys, because this is kind of what's kind of frustrated me about celebrity voices in games now, and celebrity faces and stuff in games now and stuff like that is I I kind of feel bad for voice actors now, like people who get paid to do voicing, because I mean, it's like, if it's between you and Keanu Reeves, I think they're going to choose Keanu Reeves. I mean, he's definitely going to pull way more fan base
Yeah.
than me.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's kind of, I mean, it's cool and all, but at the same time, and I kind of felt this way like about TV shows too, when they start like, I've always kind of felt like this, and maybe it's just because of my mentality and stuff, but I feel like, TV actors are TV actors, movie actors are movie actors, game actors are game actors. Just let each industry
Yeah.
its greatness. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have to.
Segregation, right? Right, Tomas? Just segregate everybody.
Yeah, it
I mean,
kind of.
a bit, but at the same time, it's. But think about it. If you were a voice actor, Alan, it's like, well, I got to go up against Keanu Reeves for Cyberpunk, so we'll see if I get the part.
my only worry is they're going to be paying Harrison Ford how much, and how much of the budget is going towards that. Because Harrison Ford don't do stuff for free.
But then that makes it harder for the rest of the game to be good because you're
That's what I
budgeting
agree.
so much money there. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
want I don't want to segregate everybody. I think that's unnecessary and it doesn't go anywhere, Tomas. That's a bad
I don't
idea.
think that's where he was. It sounded like that's where you're going, but I don't think you meant that per
No, that's
se.
not what I meant. I meant like I I feel like it's got to be tough for some voice
I
actors to feel like
Yeah,
they
I
have to
completely get
compete
it's
with.
unfair because not many people know who Nolan North is by name, even though he's a
Yeah.
big voice actor. But everybody knows who Keanu Reeves is because he's
Yeah.
on the big picture.
Yeah. So I mean, but it's tough too because you can blend. You could do really well. So like, I guess maybe this isn't the best example, but John DiMaggio, who does Bender's voice from Futurama, also does Marcus Phoenix in Gears of War, and does them both brilliantly. And I guess he's mostly just a voice actor, but that's crossing between TV
Yeah.
and Gears of War, and so I kind of get what you're saying, Tomas. But um, for me, like I mentioned this before, Keanu Reeves was the draw for me in Cyberpunk, and but you also have to consider they have hundreds, probably hundreds of other different voice actors in that game. It is a robust game of and a lot of different people. So you have your opportunities to make your mark too. Like whoever does the main character, that's who you're going to be hearing most of the time. He talks a lot. And so, there's opportunities that are out there. I just don't like when the big actors give a poor performance because, it's a video game.
Yeah, voice acting and acting are very different.
Because
Yeah,
here's a good example: the Ghostbusters game, which had the real
the original
actors,
cast. Yeah,
and some of the lines are kind of droll. It's like, what were you just phoned this one in? You totally phoned this line in, and that's kind of it's fun, but at the same time, you're like, oh, okay, cool, I guess. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Um, I I'm fine either way they go with it. I think if Harrison Ford's gonna just phone it in, don't get him. It's not gonna be a selling point for me. I just want a fun game
Yeah.
from the Star Wars and yeah, Indiana Jones especially. That
yeah.
one needs a
I would
revival.
love an Indiana Jones game. I mean, it's been a while since we got one. I love
Yeah.
Indiana Jones.
I didn't even play the Wii one, so
It's always been like Star Wars' weird cousin that not as many people are
It's
obsessed
tough.
about.
It's tough to make a game out of it because you're more shoehorned. Star Wars is like slap a lightsaber on your character, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna play that.
well, you could make it like a Tomb Raider-esque
Mm,
style. Like
yeah, Uncharted.
yeah, Uncharted, yeah.
Yeah, Uncharted's very linear as well, though.
Uncharted
Uh,
is the best Indiana Jones game there is right now.
yeah, Uncharted's amazing, but yeah, it'd have to be like I hope it's similar, but I hope it's not taking it, like, doing the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. Imagine though the Star Wars game being like Assassin's Creed, where it is that
That could be fun.
open, you
I
know?
am a little worried about the Star Wars game being an open world just to see what they would do with it. Because the only issue with Star Wars is it's so many different genres. I mean, you got sword fighting, you got shooting, you got, an underground segment, you got lightsabers, you got magic, I mean, it's like
Yeah.
everything
Oh,
in
yeah.
one game. Star fighting, if they even throw that in, imagine if they put, like, space fighting in or anything like that.
That's what I'm saying, like, you just take the Assassin's Creed elements of, horse riding or whatever, and you turn that into star battles and lightsaber fights, and you could be a stealth Jedi or a stealth Sith, like, I'm gonna have a lightsaber blade, and I'm gonna stab this guy. Like, obviously, don't make an Assassin's Creed Star Wars, but
Yeah.
that kinda model,
It
I
is Ubisoft, yeah, they aren't they the ones that make Assassin's Creed? So it makes
Yep,
sense.
they
mhm,
made Assassin's Creed, they've made Watch Dogs, which I know I liked Watch Dogs 1, I know Watch Dogs 2 wasn't that good, but I've
yeah.
heard Watch Dogs 3 Legion is really good,
I've
so
heard the opposite about Legion. It's really bad.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
heard.
but I haven't played any of them. So anyways, um, let's move on. There is some new D&D stuff. You guys are the resident experts on that, so I'll let you have at it.
D&D. I love D&D,
D&D.
obviously. I love it.
Why did you say it like
I don't know. I just went off record.
One of us. One of us.
that?
Anyways, it's really cool. More content, more module stuff, though. This is Candlekeep Mysteries. It's coming out on March 16th. It's actually
Oh,
reasonably priced at about $30 retail, but you can get it cheaper if you get on D&D Beyond a pre-order for 25.50. But what this is a collection of small, they call it small campaigns slash one shots. So small adventures. They've done this before with other books. They have other books that do this. These are more adventures that you could use for your characters if you're running games. And what's fun about these short adventures, it's really tricky to put somebody in a module after they're in your own campaign because modules are massive. We're running one right now, and I don't think anybody realized how massive modules are until they started playing it. I don't know what you thought, Tomas, so far with that.
If Strahd is anything like the other modules, it is definitely much more immersive than I had any idea. And I'm not a game master. I'm just a player, and I'm like, oh wow, there's a lot more options than I thought.
Yeah.
Like,
So shoehorning your players into a module can be kind of rough because they are so big. So really, it's going to take over your game for a long time. Uh, so if you don't want that, but you don't want to create your own content, uh, or you need a break from creating your own content, these are always a great option. They're small, isolated little stories that you can cut out of this and put into your own campaign. And maybe you don't want to, you want to just utilize one of these for a while, and you could just send your players on a quest, a small quest, and give yourself a break on creating content. And usually they're very good and very well made to the point where you can just add some of your own characters in it or mix it up to make it match your setting. So I went off on a little bit on that, but that's basically what these are. They're perfect for that. They're perfect for adopting, cutting out, and putting into your campaign. And so, getting more of them is really fun and more ways to play. And I love modules because they teach you how to run a D&D game more than any other thing can, because there's things I've learned while running modules that I'd never even thought of when I just read the Dungeons Master's Guide, which is really cool. So you get to see how they implement their own rules and what they think they should work in their game, and it mixes it up and lets you utilize it in your own. So I always think these are really fun. So I highly recommend it, and I also highly recommend you play some other ones. And this one is looks really cool. I mean, I've been looking at it, and it's just they haven't really said a whole lot. It's just they're just explaining that it's more isolated little.
are they going to add anything new with this, or are they just
They haven't
making
said
little one
anything.
shot?
They just said there's 17 of them. 17 of them. They haven't really. Usually they do add like spells and stuff in these, but this doesn't say anything. I read it earlier, and I didn't. Nothing popped out to me, and I'm looking over it again. I don't see anything that they've stated as coming out with it. So hopefully there isn't. I don't really like when they do that because it makes you buy a book if you don't want it for just a
Hmm.
specific race or something that you wanted to utilize. Uh, but at the same time, it does give people an incentive on buying these things, even if they're not going to run them right away. So a lot of people just collect them just to have everything. Uh, but
You guys
it,
still running that stuff? You guys still
oh
running
yeah,
every week?
every week
Yeah,
we're got a game tomorrow. So uh, still running Strahd. I mean, yeah, we've been running it since we started this podcast.
nice.
So it's really fun. I love D&D, and this is more content, the better.
So this is pretty relevant to you guys because you're actually playing it. And what are you going to add this to it? You guys plan on
No,
getting this one?
I wouldn't add. I'll probably get it. I wouldn't add it to my Strahd game. But it
Oh,
is
okay.
definitely something I'd look into to adding if I started running my own custom game world again. It's definitely something I would do is just cut one of these small adventures out and just modify it to fit my world, and everything else is already done for you. So you got your
Yeah.
maps, you got your monsters, you got everything. You just need your characters around the same live level. But there is like I said, there's 17 adventures, and they're all between the levels of 1 and 16. So you should be able to find something to mix, put into your game.
Speaking of adding people to the mix, There's another game you've been playing, Alan,
I know, and this
but
has been
you've been the lone wolf for
lone
a while.
wolf.
But it sounds like, and we'll get to this in a little bit. It sounds like we're both ready to join the team.
I hope so because there
Wait, what have you been playing as a lone wolf?
He's about to
Marvel's
tell you.
Avengers. I almost said Adventures. Not the same, I don't think. Avengers, the Avengers. My background is actually a picture of the Avengers because this has really pumped me up. Now, there's a lot of problems with this game, and I think most people who have played it know that.
Now wait a second. Wait a second. Hold on. You're telling me this is a co-op game?
Stop it.
Okay, go out. Go.
Yes. Well, another thing that is kind of annoying about the co-op aspect is I keep wanting you guys to play with me, but it's hard because you both haven't touched it. So it's like I tell you and I'm like, "Hey, play this game with me." But then I realize that if you turn it on, you're probably going to be playing solo for a good couple hours.
Mm,
Really?
Yes, and that is the unfortunate part, unless you're just willing to skip the story, 'cause you have access to the multiplayer, but it takes place after the story, which is
Oh.
so it's like I mean, if you're willing to do that and you already know like, for instance, we all know Captain America's a playable character in the game, which I knew that from the initial when I started, and I think everybody knew that. I hope. But so you kind of know that you're probably going to find him in the story at some point. They do a really
yeah,
good thing about
I knew
like
that.
he's dead, and I think they said this in the preemptives. Oh my God, Captain America's dead, and you're going through the whole game, but you know he's going to be there. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just about. It's
He's
not
on the
about
cover.
if. It's about when. Yeah, he's literally on the cover.
You can't
Yeah,
put him on the cover and then have him dead the whole
I
game.
really wish you didn't know because they did a really good review with them and everything, so it's
Uh,
really well done. The story is really good. One thing and I think we talked about this a little bit, is we really wanted a game that took the Marvel Ultimate Alliance style and, like, just
Mhm.
expanded on it.
Yeah.
That's this game. They did
yeah.
that. It's exactly what this is, and it's so good, and Kamala, Miss Marvel, she's in the, Marvel Ultimate Alliance game that we played, and I didn't really think twice about her. She's been popping up here and there. She's really popular. I didn't really know this, but she's the main protagonist in the story,
Hmm.
the single player campaign,
Yeah.
and it made me really interested in that character because she's a really unique style of character. Uh, I've been meaning to look up, like, Miss Marvel versus Mr. Fantastic because they both have, like, a very similar power. Uh,
Yeah, they're both really stretchy.
yeah, they both have this a very similar
I
power,
feel
but
like she just gets big.
No, she can stretch her arm and make her hand really big
Oh,
and
yeah,
okay.
it does feel like she may be more limited than Mr. Fantastic.
maybe,
And
yeah.
maybe that's a good thing, or she just utilizes her powers differently. I mean, she's a different character, so that would make sense.
No,
Uh,
put him in a box.
put him in a box. But it's really good, the story wise. But the problem is with the end game, and that's where a lot of people are having issues right now. Not only that, there are some bugs, small bugs, riddled throughout, which is unfortunate. There was a couple missions that I would finish the mission, and it just wouldn't trigger. Yeah, we'll
Oh,
just be sitting at the end, the objective is done, and it's just gonna trigger. Luckily, they have a pretty good checkpoint system, but you're probably still gonna do that last battle again or whatever it was you were doing,
Mhm.
which is a little frustrating. The only good thing about that is you do keep the experience and stuff you get from doing it previously. So
Oh,
so you get to double up on the experience, so it's not like complete loss. So that's kind of nice, but it still shouldn't be happening. Uh, there's some weird little graphical glitches here and there. I know the opening cutscene had some weird chopping out of the narrator, which is really bizarre. And I looked it up, and it's just a thing that happens.
ugh.
Uh, it's frustrating.
That should
Uh,
have been patched by now, I feel like.
yeah,
it really should have.
I feel like and I don't know how well it did, but I feel like it didn't do really great, and I feel like games that don't do really well get patches really slowly. You know,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
well,
a good point.
with the coronavirus as well, I mean, they've taken some hits. They are working on more content. They already have 3 more people lined up. There's a new character coming out that already came out that I haven't touched because you only get the character cards for the initial ones, so I've been focusing on them, not Kate. But what I the story is really good, like I said, and I know a lot of people were hesitant for the simple fact that it's like trying to look like the MCU, but it's not the MCU, and so it's a really weird, surreal.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
they do a really good job at this. Tony Stark, for instance, this is a good example. This Tony Stark, it's really hard to match Robert Downey Jr. and a lot of games and content that have come out have tried to just imitate what he's done. This game actually took that to the drawing board and recreated him, and he's still similar, but he looks different. He acts kind of different. He's almost a different character, but they did it really well. So you still got a lot of the same traits because that's from Tony Stark, but he's not Robert Downey Jr. And that's a really good example of that. But I really liked it. The story itself is amazing. The co-op is fun. But if you're looking for like Destiny, that's the issue is the end game content is not there. That's the people that are having issues with. Basically, once you get to the end, you're trying to get that 150 cap. I think it is like around 150. But then at that point, there's nothing else to do. That's it. You're just at the end. There's no raids. There's no like heavy multiplayer content besides just doing these little missions. There's nothing like extremely there to make you get together and work with your buddies uh, after that. So I think that's where people are kind of stuck at, and we're sitting at 5 months since it came out. So I think people are just they're getting impatient, respectively.
Yeah,
So
I think Tomas was hit the nail on the head by saying it didn't do as well as they even expected, and it kind of just. I think you're right where they lose, whoever's working on it or putting the patches. The company that's
yeah,
putting those out is like, well, they'll come out when they come out because it went on sale like pretty quickly too, which is not a great indication
no.
usually, but
It's one
at
of
the
these
same.
live services games they're trying to do, which makes it even worse when you have that. It's like if you say live service, people think, "Oh, it's a game I can keep playing constantly." But when you have a game that has such a hard dead end, like you can get to that max level, but you're just going to be doing the same missions. I mean, just a little harder,
Yeah.
and that's like that's not really what you want to do at that point. At that point, I've played a lot of MMOs. I know you guys haven't. I don't know if you guys play Destiny at all or any of those live service games. I have. I know you play Galaxy of Heroes and maybe similar there. Basically, once you get to the end, that's when you're doing that heavy group content, the raiding, stuff like that, where you're working with people and you're doing stuff to progress either your team or your guild or whatever you're doing, or even you a little bit more. Uh, but when you have that dead end, it just pulls people out.
Different mentality when you get to that. Yeah, I guess you could compare Galaxy of Heroes to it, but I've been playing that game for years, and it is, it's that whole fallacy of like, well, I've put this much time into it, so I'm going to keep doing it, and I want to get to that next level or unlock that next character or whatever. But it's also a bit of a drag because you're just kind of checking in every day to do the same thing and hopefully you inch further unless I don't know if Avengers is doing this unless you pay the big bucks and then you get to the end pretty quick.
They You can pay to skip, like, the character cards. They do have a battle pass, which is really character cards, and each character has it. There's no time limit or anything, and you get all the stock characters that come with the game when you own the game, so you get all them. The new character, you don't have that, but you get the new character for free. So you get the new character, you just can't get all the cosmetic stuff. There's no paying for, like, power-ups, though, it's just all cosmetic. So you can't pay to get
Yeah.
ahead, but there's nothing else to do anyways, so might as well just get ahead. Uh, I was gonna say my mains right now. I'm curious to see where you guys go, where you guys follow. My mains have been Captain America and Miss Marvel, just because I was so fascinated with her as a character. I actually got a graphic novel to read because I love newer Marvel characters. I mean, I'm a huge fan of X-23. She's not as newer, but she's a newer character, so I love these newer characters. But I told my brother about this because he loves Captain America,
Hmm.
and this is probably the best like game where I've played Captain America, and he's felt like Captain America. Like
Hmm.
with just mixing his shield and his combat is just so fun. It's
Yeah,
so
the
fun.
combat looks way better, especially coming from Ultimate Alliance that we beat 100 times. Like the combat looks so much more in depth and so much more fun.
Oh man, yeah, it's the combat itself is so fun.
Well,
It's a little
the
muddled.
reason why we haven't joined the Avengers yet is because Tomas has beat a different game that he seems
Yeah,
to be sucked into.
I just finished Dragon Ball Z. I haven't gotten any of the DLC because apparently you can get Beerus
Yeah, I haven't either.
and Cooler.
They haven't gone on sale yet, the DLC, so I'm waiting for that.
So yeah, I'm waiting for it. So I'm done for now with Dragon Ball. But it was great, man. All the way from the Saiyans all the way to the Buu saga. It was all there, and it was essentially like watching the show again, just really condensed.
Yep.
Like so, it was fun on both levels. It was entertaining, and also it was like watching the show again. So
It's a great recap for fans that, you know, maybe haven't watched it in a while or missed stuff, or if you've never seen it before and maybe want to start watching Super, this is a quick way and a really fun way to get through it. I think they dropped the ball by not making it multiplayer though, like
yeah,
Avengers. I feel like I've been wanting the Dragon Ball Z version of Avengers for years and years now, and this is one step closer to it. But I would have loved to have, like, hopped in with you a couple times and just been like,
yeah,
yeah,
that would have been really cool.
I got
You got
my
that
guy.
though with sagas.
Stop it. Call it sagas. There was that one MMO, but it was, like, in Korea
Oh
only or
my
something?
goodness, I forgot about that. I remember we downloaded it and like tried really hard to. Maybe it was just me, but I
I didn't
remember
try.
back in the day. I was like really on my computer a lot, and I tried that one and Fantasy Star. They made a new Fantasy Star, but that one specifically, I tried so hard to play that game. I never got in though because you had to have like a Korean social security card or something
Yeah,
crazy.
you
It
gotta
was
have it, yeah.
insane.
It's probably would have been easier today because that was back when they had so many restrictions on it, back in the day,
Yeah,
but
and
it
there was like
yeah.
a whole forum where people were trading, like they would talk to Korean locals and like asking to use their social security. It was insane. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my goodness. And then it died. It died before it ever made it anywhere else. It
Yeah, I
ended.
think, Xenoverse kind of was a result of that, but
Universe was
that's
really,
still it was good, but it's still just not quite what we're looking for.
it's like a weird mix between a fighting game and MMO. And while fun, it wasn't like this. Like this sounds really good. I want to play this game. I haven't played it yet either.
Oh yeah, I think you'd really enjoy it, Alan.
Have it, yeah. Well, my son has it, so I can borrow it. So
Yeah, I think it was one on my top 5, but it's by far the best Dragon Ball Z game they've made, and, it's just like, there's a little bit of me that's been burned with, like, we've mentioned this before, that how many bad ones have come out, and it's like, "Okay, I think I can heal now. I think we could start the process of healing Dragon Ball Z video games, specifically because
yeah, they made a lot of stinkers. You're right.
there's a
They've made a
lot of
lot
stinkers."
of stinkers. Yeah.
You watching this, like I saw things that I had forgotten about. Like for example, like Android 17, he has a gun. I never realized he had a gun on his hip.
Yeah,
Like, then I
yeah,
was
for
watching
what
the first
reason,
time.
right?
Yeah, I was like, does he ever use that? I don't think he ever
I
uses
don't
that.
think he does. Yeah, I don't remember him. He may have used it like something stupid, but
Yeah, maybe with, like, a regular human to scare or something.
And what was great though is I was playing it and my fiance started watching Dragon Ball Z abridged
Mm,
I
while I
love
was
that.
playing it,
mhm.
and so yeah, like she was watching that, so I turned off my volume and I could just hear Dragon Ball Z abridged while I was playing, and I was like, and one time it matched up perfectly where oh man, Raditz, like right at the beginning when Raditz is it takes Gohan and puts him in his ship,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
and Gohan breaks out and like headbutts him. Like, so right as I was doing that, she started watching it, and that part came up in Team Foursquare, and I was like, played it. I was just, oh, and then when she got to the muffin button, dude, in space, when he was going to see Frieza, I
Yeah.
Yeah.
just, I had to pause it. I was like in the middle of my fights and I was laughing so hard. I had to pause it. I was like, I can't fight right now
I'm
because of that stupid muffin button.
I'm really sad that show is coming to an end.
I wish I wish they had done all the way up through the boo, but they stopped at Cell and
Yeah,
yeah.
they wanted to.
It's such a hard show. I mean, they were having a lot of legal issues with Toei. They're very protective.
Yeah, because it got so popular, once it
Mhm.
reaches a
Yeah.
certain point, it's like, "Hey," cease I don't know if they got a cease and desist, but man, I really enjoyed that
They
show.
had got a couple of them, but because of the way it's set up, they were able to, like, work around it because technically they were doing nothing illegal. But, speaking of Xenoverse for a second and Team 4 Star, Nappa's voice is in Xenoverse.
Oh, is
Oh,
it?
really?
Yeah, it's only in the American version, uh, but you one of the voice options is Nappa. I used it, for my character in there, and it was hilarious. He doesn't say anything crazy because it's mostly just grunts and groans, but it's just really funny.
It's
Just a little
become canon for me.
Data.
Yeah,
yeah,
Data.
I
I
love it.
I think some of the voices are better, and I don't wanna disrespect any of the other voice actors, but the Appa, for one, is really good.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I because it's been so long since I've, like, actually watched Dragon Ball, but, like, the voice of Vegeta in the game actually doesn't sound that far off of
No,
what's
it's
on.
not.
Yeah. I think they're all kinda starting to meld. But it shows you just, like, how a fan fiction, like, a really just diehard fan base can almost, I say almost, in some regards, do it better, you know? And they were just recreating the show that was already made, but they put a lot of love and passion into that, and it just shows.
And it worked too because of the fact that they really condensed it. They condensed it before Kai. I mean, they
Yeah,
condensed a lot of it. It was comedy and satire, and if you watch the originals, it was great, but you could watch it without watching the originals and know what's going on.
yeah.
Just
Oh, yeah.
Watching the originals makes it that much better.
The thing that's just so great about it is, like, because it also happened to line up that, she was watching The Cell while I was finishing the Cell saga, and, man, even with how much Team Foursquare is doing comedy and it's satire and it's funny, you really can't make that Gohan fight funny. Like, Gohan against Cell is just it's probably one of the better Dragon Ball fights.
It was
I
such
mean,
I mean, I can't confirm this, but that was supposed to be one of the endings of Z, and it was so popular, like, "Well, we'll just keep going with Boo."
yeah. Team 4 Star. I know you keep saying Square. If you're
Oh.
you may wanna look into it, Team 4 Star.
thank you.
Yeah, they make all kinds of other stuff. It's just as hilarious. But going back to why the Avengers haven't, squatted up together. Tomas was beating Kakarot, and I was finishing The Last of Us 2, and I'm pretty sure I had started it last time we made a podcast, but I ended up beating it, and then I told Alan I beat it, and I think he got excited, but I forgot to mention that I was going back to get the platinum. And although I went back because it's a fairly easy platinum, and you could almost do it if you like on a first run through if you follow a guide and get all the collectibles. But I essentially had to go back and beat the game again on New Game Plus just to pick up all the coins and the cards and stuff, and it was just time consuming at that point.
Mhm.
I already knew what was happening, so I skipped all the cutscenes, but I noticed if there's certain cutscenes that if you just watch them, it's almost shorter to watch them than to skip it because the load time for skipping it punishes you. Like you better go make a sandwich, kid, because this is gonna be a while.
You should have just watched.
You should have just watched this one. And some of them, you skip right away, and it's like, wait, okay, let me try to remember. Does this jump right into the story, or is this a chapter skip? But yeah, it just took a whole I think a total another it was 20 hours to beat it, another 15 to get the second time to just get through all the stuff because you just have to play the game again. They do have a chapter select, and you can go back individually, but I had something missing on every level.
Oh,
But
so you might as well. Yeah.
but yeah, I might as well just and like the last few chapters I just skipped around because it's a lot of cutscenes. And I don't know if you guys watch The Completionist on YouTube, but he summed up how I feel about the game almost identically. It's really well, and there are spoilers on that, and I'm going to try to talk about this game without any spoilers. And I know, Tomas, you said you played the first one,
Yeah.
and this second one, when I finished it, it gave me a similar feeling. I was really upset with the not upset, but conflicted with the end of the first game, just the story of it and the choices that were made with those characters, and you're like you could see both ways of how it went, and you grew to love these characters as people, and the same thing happens in the second one, but in a different way, almost to where you don't like the characters anymore, and the message is different that, like, nobody is good, none are righteous, so to speak, and but they did a lot of flashbacks in the game, and I when I finished the game, I was like, "Why didn't I just play that in order?" I feel like it would have been done so much better. I would have, enjoyed the characters, got to know them better if I just went in order. And there's a second character you play as, and I did not really like that person. You didn't connect as well. You wanted to be, the characters from the first one, and so what you get to, but it's the way they split it up. I give them credit for trying something different. It still made you think. There's still, like, a psychological thing where you're like, "Ah, what just happened? Was it the right thing? Did anything good?" And it's even darker to me than the first one, and the first one is dark. It's a dark game, it's a
Yeah.
in-world zombie apocalypse, but, I also knew there was a lot of controversy to this game, and so I looked it up, like, I didn't look anything up because I didn't wanna spoil it, and I looked it all up at the end of it, and I don't get the gripes that people have with it. I really don't. I thought it was a great game. I'd give it an 8 out of 10 if I'm rating it. It's so wonderfully done. It's very fluid. They added some necessary combat aspects to it. Um, it still scared the heck out of me. Even replaying it, knowing that stuff's coming, it still got me. I was playing with those dang headphones, and oh my gosh. Um, Still, just it's a good game, and it just makes you think a lot, and I think that's the problem people have with it is that it made them feel something they didn't wanna feel or they didn't like, and they were upset about it, and so they were like, "Meh,"
Yeah.
So, I think you should play it if you played the first one. I don't think you need to, but I think you should, and yeah, I finally got that platinum, Alan, so I'm ready to join the Avengers now.
I'm excited to actually play with people.
And I started playing Tony Hawk After Kakarot, which isn't like one that I need to keep playing.
Yeah, that's a
So
good arcade game.
I feel like I needed to play Tony Hawk after I would play The Last of Us, because I would play till, like, 1 in the morning sometimes I just needed to get it done, but, it's not the wisest thing to do, you're attacked by zombies and getting shot with arrows, and then you try to go to bed, so I'd play Fall Guys just like, "I just gotta wind down, like, this is too high
In Tony
stress."
Hawk too, you can, like, turn on mods and make it easier too, so you can't, like, crash and
Oh,
stuff, and so it just makes it so relaxing if you wanna just, like, really chill.
just cruise. Cool. Well, why don't it's, that was my time for Soapbox, so Tomas, you're up.
all right. So yeah, let me position this here and get up on here. Um so uh one of the things for Christmas that I got was all the James Bond movies. All of
Oh,
them.
wow.
Yeah.
Even the, like, new ones? Daniel Craig?
Yeah.
Oh,
Even
cool.
the new ones,
Okay.
all the way up to Skyfall.
Sweet.
Uh, so I've always liked James Bond. When I was a teenager, and I got out of the hospital and I was at home recovering, I used to watch them on TV all the time because you remember how they'd come on and they'd be like movie after movie after movie
Yep.
on
Oh, I
TV.
loved it.
So I've been watching those again with my fiance, and so it was just really interesting to see how style has changed so much from the 60s to now. Like
Mm,
Roger Moore never, never wears shorts, and you don't see anyone else in the movie wearing shorts. Sean Connery, though, he'll go to a resort and stuff,
hmm.
and he has shorts on. Another thing, the very hairy Sean Connery to the very kind of lack of hair Roger Moore, and now I'm back to Pierce Brosnan, and
Yeah.
we've gone back to a very kind of hairy. You realize the first Bond movie was 67, 69?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
like, and so it's just really fun. And also another thing I really noticed was uh uh Sean Connery wears different colors. Roger Moore always in like a jumpsuit of the same color. And then you get to Pierce Brosnan. Oh, and also Roger Moore, Sean Connery, never bright colors. You
Hmm.
get to Pierce Brosnan, you start to see some bright colors starting to come out and stuff like that. But always before that, really dark colors for the men and stuff like that. Like,
Interesting.
yeah, and during Rogers Morris era, the 70s to early 80s, you see that very kind of all one color, like his jacket, his shirt, and his pants are all the same color. Like, it's yeah, it was. Oh, and the hat. Sean Connery wore a hat. Roger
Yeah.
Moore never wore a hat.
Yeah, I don't think
Like,
Brosnan did either.
yeah, Pierce Brosnan didn't wear a hat. The change in smoking. Sean Connery smoked cigarettes. Pierce Brosnan smoked cigars. I mean, not Pierce Brosnan. Roger Moore smokes cigars. Pierce Brosnan won't touch them.
So there's one Bond, because I love the Bond series. If I may just interject, I love the Bond. I love them all. And there's one Bond that you're kind of skipping over. Well, there's a couple, but one of them we don't speak of one of them. But Timothy Dalton is kind of like the dark horse of it all.
I actually learned some interesting things about Timothy Dalton because we were watching it, and I was like, "Why did he only do 2?" You know?
Hmm.
And, yeah, so apparently the whole lawsuit thing was going on with MGM, and that's why Bond was postponed for 5 years. They didn't make a Bond movie. And, uh when they went to make a new one, the the guy Broccoli, I can't remember his first name, but
Albert.
Albert Broccoli. I love that last name, man. Broccoli was like, "Yeah, we want you to do GoldenEye," and he was like, "Okay, but GoldenEye is probably going to be my last one." And he was like, "No, no, no, you got to do at least another 3 or 4 or 5." And he was like, "No, I'll do one more." And he was like, "No, no, no." So that's why Pierce Brosnan got to take over. Um, but the other interesting thing that I found out was, so his portrayal of Bond, a lot of people didn't like it at first because they said that it was too assassin, not
Yeah.
suave and stuff
Well,
like
yeah.
that.
He's a little darker.
Yeah, and apparently it was because he wanted to make his character more true to Ian Fleming's depiction. And apparently it was interesting to me because that was a lot of the complaints that I heard when Daniel Craig first took it.
Yeah.
Was like, "Oh, he's too much of a brute. He's too much of a thug." And I was like, "Well, you know." But I personally have liked Daniel Craig. I thought he's done a good job. My favorite Bond is still probably Sean Connery, but
Oh no, Pierce Brosnan for me.
yeah, Pierce Brosnan's Pierce Brosnan's got too much of a soft face. Like,
What?
he's got kind of a putty face. Like,
What do you
it looks like you
what
could
is
smash him.
So,
Like,
I got nothing against Sean Connery. He probably is the quintessential Bond, but the for that GoldenEye for me is the perfect Bond movie. And, it's so nostalgic for me tied in with the game, the 64
mhm,
game.
yeah.
It's hard to me, that's the prime, the peak of Bond movies was they reached them all. They had the brand new guy who was excited to do it, knocked it out of the park, and they just had all the villains like were done really well, and it's the music and everything in that one is just great. All the cheesiness is still there.
Yeah, well, the one actual really interesting to me thing, especially when you watch them back to back to back to back, you really notice this, is Sean Connery is is his style of Bond, and then when you get to Roger Moore, his whole his whole era of Bond movies is really kind of campy.
Yeah.
Like, it's really kind of like Three Stooges type stuff happening. Like, and I was, like, watching it, and I was like, "This is why I never liked Roger Moore in Bond, because I just felt like I was watching, like, a cartoon of Bond." Like,
Yeah,
and
I guess I could say it. It's the man with the golden gun.
yeah, I just oh, and yeah, I had no idea that that was Saruman.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
what's his name?
Christopher Lee.
Yeah, Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, that's Three Nipple Dude? Is Christopher Lee?"
Yeah. Good old Dracula himself.
Yeah. And, did you actually catch this? Because you said with GoldenEye, the the villainous, Zenatop or Zonatop?
Yeah.
That's, Phoenix.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Phoenix from the
Yeah.
X-Men. I didn't know that either. I
Famke
was like,
Janssen.
yeah. That caught me by surprise. I was like, "Why does she look so freaking familiar?"
It's the original Jean Grey from the movies.
Oh, man. But they were great, great movies. If you wanna see how culture changed from the '60s to now, watch them. You'll see it. You'll definitely see it.
That's really interesting, yeah, 'cause, like, just the way he talks to women and treats women too, all that, yeah. Very different.
The even architecture, like, the M's office completely
Mm,
changes,
mhm.
like yeah.
Yeah, I like the Daniel Craig ones. They're hard to follow, like, I don't know what's happening in
Mhm.
them. There's like, "What? Okay." And then they try to put it all together in Spectre, it's like, "What? Okay." I'm so lost, like,
Yeah, I've watched Spectre now 3 times, and I think by the 3rd time it was starting to click. I was like, "Oh, I see how this is
yeah,
working now."
and I think what is it, Christoph Waltz, who's awesome, but like,
Yeah, he does a
"What?
great job, but
What's going on?"
yeah, but okay, Alan, here, you can this is all you,
I
man.
Yeah,
have
take it away,
seen
Alan.
2 James Bond movies. Yeah.
Are you serious? Wait a
Oh
minute.
we've gotta
So
have
I'm
a sit down.
positive GoldenEye's one because I think I watched it with you.
Yeah, I've watched GoldenEye many times, and I think it's Tomorrow Never Dies, the second one.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
haven't seen Sean Connery, man?
yeah, you gotta
I have it has been on TV. I've put it on many times with many different Bond movies, and I usually fall asleep or end up changing the channel.
yeah, that's fair. I think if you watch, like, their best ones, like Goldfinger
Yeah.
and maybe, Moonraker or something.
Live and Let Die, that was a great one with the New Orleans and the voodoo
I think
stuff.
you'd like the Timothy Dalton ones, though, right before GoldenEye.
I did like Timothy Dalton, and, I actually liked the one guy I can't remember the one we don't speak of. I actually thought he did a pretty good
Yeah,
job.
yeah, George Lazenby.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
uh,
fine. He did good.
he was actually a martial artist. It was the first time they actually had a martial artist playing Bond, and actually, if you watch it, he is much more, uh he doesn't do just one hit and knock you out, like, he does, actual fight scenes and stuff. It's actually really interesting.
Yeah, he did good. I think, he did what, the one, and then Sean Connery came back.
Yeah, he did one, and they actually offered him 7-movie deal, and he was like, "No, it's not I don't think it's gonna do that many. I'll just do 1."
Oh, you blew it. You blew it,
And
kid.
then Sean Connery was like, "Yeah, I'll come back and do another one."
Yeah.
"Alright, Alan, here, you can have it." Jeez.
Yeah, please. We need to have a whole cast about the fact that you've only watched 2.
I made a mistake by, saying anything about James Bond, apparently. Uh,
Not even the new one?
yeah. I think I may have watched a third. I think I did watch one of the new ones because I think I went with Tomas with it, like, when he first came out. I think I saw Casino Royale, and I was like, "That's not Pierce Brosnan," and that was about
Where am I? What year is this? It was weird for me to see someone other than Pierce Brosnan because I watched that one so many times.
Mhm.
But anyways, uh, yeah. Yeah, I can't even, like, focus.
Sorry.
My soapbox is on
Bond
toxic
will do that to you.
fans. What?
Bond will do
Bond,
that to you.
he's got you. He's got you in his eyes. He's locked you in.
Yeah, toxic fans. I think we've talked about this a little bit in the past, and I hate toxic fans. I understand people get angry and passionate about stuff, but it's too much. I haven't been on Twitch in a while, and I started playing uh, Marvel Avengers, like I said earlier, and I've been really loving it. And I had no one really to play with, so I started just snooping around all the places you can find people to play with, like Discord. And then on Discord, I found out that they were doing a live stream. The Crystal Dynamics is actually doing it with Andy Wong, who's apparently the community manager of Crystal Dynamics, or specifically Avengers. So I went and watched it because I thought it'd be fun. I was like, well, let's see what the developers say because I know there's a lot of issues with this game. So obviously, I want to see what they're saying about it. So I went in open minded, and I didn't know what it was going to be. It ended up being uh, a play along. It was basically they're going to play the game, and that's it. It's going to be a normal stream. But of course, the community that was there was very uh, not all of them. I would probably say about 40 to 50% of them, which is enough on those text chats. They just fly by. Uh, that were just not only constantly asking the same questions, but also just starting to say some of the most toxic things. Like, uh, well, I know one of them really caught me off guard. Was basically I paid $60 for this, and I deserve you to
Oh,
give me information and stuff like that. And I was like, you
yeah.
don't deserve crap. You got what you got. Sorry. That's not what they said. They were very cordial about it. And they actually gave as much information they could when people would ask them questions. But they specifically said, this is not that stream. There will be a stream about that, but this isn't it. And this is us playing the game. I will answer things we're allowed to talk about. But to be fair, we don't have the authority to say some of the things, so we can't. We're here to play the game. So they were very cordial about it, and I enjoyed watching it. It was actually really fun uh, to see their experiences with it. But just watching those people constantly bagging on them, even though they're not the actual developers, these are just community manager people. They're not in charge of that stuff. I mean, they take stuff over to them when they hear problems, but that's as far as they can get, and they can request things, but again, they don't control it.
Yeah, well, like, okay, see, this bothers me, and I I think a lot of it has to do with uh because there's a screen between me and you. I can say whatever the heck I want,
Yeah,
and nothing's gonna happen. 'Cause
anonymity.
but like you're saying, Alan, when they're there saying, "Yeah, we're not the ones who talk about this. If you want to talk about this, you talk to these people about it." And then they sit there and still go, "Yeah, well, I still have a problem." Well, no, now it's your problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it bugs me that people have this idea that my problem is your problem. No, sometimes your problem is just your own problem. Like, yeah, and that's that. Like,
Yeah, it's definitely entitlement, and I've said before where this game is they called it a live service, and maybe that was their fault, and it is supposed to be a live service, but it is lacking in content. But I could tell the fan base is very rabid about this towards them, which happens. The Cyberpunk was even a worse. Like people in the chat were comparing this game to Cyberpunk, and I don't. Well, I didn't play this game at launch. It could have been much worse. I've heard it was worse at launch. At least now, compared to what I've heard about Cyberpunk on PS4, I'm playing on PS4 on this Avengers game, and it's a very pretty game. And I haven't really had. I've had minor problems, like I've explained earlier, but never anything extreme. But like I said, I started late, so I didn't experience the build up to this.
well, we had a friend who got this at launch, and I had talked to him about it, and he said he didn't have any problems with it.
Yeah, he had it too, and I know I've been talking to him about it too, and same thing. He didn't have any major problems, but obviously there's enough problems where they had fixed things. But I'm getting off topic. I'm more talking about I just don't like this culture that we've kind of created, where if you have a problem with something, yes, you can complain about it, but attacking, I think we've talked about this, attacking the developers or the creators or even people like actors and things like that just because you didn't like a movie. There was issues with this with Rise of Skywalker, and I really didn't like that movie. But people were attacking the actors in the movie like it was their fault, that this movie was bad, and it maybe it was a little bit, but that still gives you no position to attack somebody, and just call them bad names and attack their family and things like that on social media or anything like that. I really hate this type of culture that we seem to have built with, social media.
Well, like, and on that, like, and Kyle, you were just talking about playing The Last of Us too. Uh,
Hmm.
I know that the woman who
Yeah,
is the
Laura
voice
Bailey.
actress for, yeah, Laura Bailey, who's the voice actress, she got a whole bunch of really awful, like, hate mail and stuff for, and, it's just like, why? Why? Like, I remember, like, I think I heard that one of the complaints was like, "Oh, the character isn't feminine enough." And I was like, "How is that Laura Bailey's problem?" Like, I don't understand why that's her problem. And also, screw you, feminine enough. You're in a world apocalypse, man. You're lucky Ellie is showered. Like,
It is, yeah, The Last of Us got a huge amount of hate as well, I remember hearing about it, and the game, from what I've understood, works fine, like, there's no issues with it, it's just people had issues with the story, and that's another thing is, like, and it's a mixed bag as well because I know Kyle said he as far as I know, you said you enjoyed the story even if you had minor issues with it.
Yeah. No, no, I did. Yeah. Yeah.
So, obviously, it wasn't a bad story, it just wasn't the story they wanted, and so they feel entitled
Exactly.
to attack them
Exactly.
over it, and that's not fair.
It does. The argument I got with it, people said was that in that particular case, they did the things they did in the story just to be shocking and whatever the shock value. And I didn't get that. I To me, it was like they made a story, they crafted it well. There was parts of it like, yeah, I didn't like, man, I really wish I had known that character more. Like, if anything, they were lacking stuff with some of the characters. And then to go back and read what people were saying was like, and I'll say this because this is your soapbox, Alan, but I think you said
No, I
it's
enjoy
okay.
you saying stuff, go ahead.
Yeah, it's turned into our box, but you said it's something that we've created, and I'm glad you said that because it isn't, us against them. This is the community and world that we're part of, especially when it comes to video games, that
mhm.
we're known as, pretty toxic. And not saying like us individually, but I think that we are part of that, that we've created that, and I think it doesn't need to be that way. And man, maybe if we all just
Yeah.
took a step back and said, this is all just, made up stories. I know it's
Yeah.
important and it means a lot. It means a lot to me, but there's like real stories that are happening in the world that matter more.
Well, like, for me, and I'm sorry, Alan, because Kyle is right. This is your soapbox, so I'm hoping this is the last time I'll take it from you. But for me, it's like you can be upset about something. You cannot like something. That's fine. Art is subjective. That's very true. But just because you don't like the art that I like doesn't mean that it's not art. And just because you don't like something doesn't mean you have to rip it up. Doesn't mean you have to burn it. Doesn't mean you have to degrade it and make it terrible and throw it in the dirt. You can go home and scream in your pillow about how much you don't like it, but I don't want to hear or see you scream about how much you don't like it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like,
you can tell me you don't like it, but yeah, yeah.
yeah, something similar happened with Avengers too, which I heard about. It's not really talked about much anymore, but when it came out, apparently there was a lot of people upset at the fact that Kamala or Miss Marvel, was the main character, mainly
why?
because people wanted to play their favorites, right from the start. But I disagree because actually I really like the idea of learning about a new character. I think we all know all about the rest of the main cast. We know about Hulk. We know about Thor. I mean, we know their story. I didn't know about Kamala. I heard little bits about her here and there, but I never heard a lot. And so this dump made me so excited for her as a character, and it was really fun to be the character, the outside looking in. But other people, they don't want to be that character because they want to be their favorites, but you get to be later anyways. So I don't know if it really matters. See
You
what I
know what
think.
I honestly think it is? You know what I honestly think it is? I think a lot of it is, eh, a lot of it is people who are scared of change also now have an avenue to express their I
Mm,
don't want this to change. I want this to be how I like it, how I remember it. And I've fallen into that trap because I remember when Heath Ledger first was announced for Joker, I turned to my friend and I said, "That's gonna be freaking awful."
yeah. 10 things I hate
I think
about
a lot
you.
of
Oh,
people thought that. I
Yeah,
thought that. I remember
yeah,
thinking about that as well. I had no faith in him.
yeah. And now look at it, it's I am so upset that he had that dark moment, and yeah, rest
He
in
wasn't
peace
able to portray it
because
again. Yeah, it's very upsetting.
yeah,
I mean, there's more to it than that, but it would have been nice. But yeah, I agree, and it's just very hard. And I think we've said our piece on this. We don't like it, and I really wish more people would be more positive. Even if you don't like something, find the things you do like in it. There's got to be something that you can find that you enjoy about a property. I didn't
well,
like trucks and stuff. What's up, pal?
or you can say you don't like it, but you don't have to go and like Tomas said, rip it to shreds of like demand. Yeah,
You could even say you don't like it to people, but there's an extent. You could say, "I didn't like this," and that's it. That's a day. You don't have to say, "I don't like this. You did a bad job. Fix it. I deserve this. You need to make it right. Uh, I'm your customer. You have to cater to me." That type of mentality, that's not good. So I think that pretty much settles it. So I think we can end with a little homework assignment. Why don't you go on Twitter and just find an artist or somebody you liked and just tweet them and say, "You did a good job on this." Just let them know
that's a
that
good idea.
they did a
yeah.
good job, whatever it is. I think it'll be fun, and it'll make you get out of your bubble maybe a little bit. But that's all I have to say, so I'll leave it with that.
Great idea. That'll end it because we have a extra extended podcast for you guys today. So we'll just end it there. I think that's a great idea, Alan. Why don't you tell everyone where they can contact us, and then we'll be out.
Sounds good. We have our email at nerdbackstory@gmail.com. We have our Twitter, like I just said, which about Twitter. While you're on there, why don't you follow our at nerd_BS or even myself at ScadMatrix. Both of those, any of those three, you contact them, or even on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe and like and comment. And if you contact me any of those places, you can join our Discord. It's small now, but we talk about topics and we talk about uh, news articles and things as they occur because we only do this every 2 weeks, so some news stuff passes us by uh, for now. But we talk about it on there and we discuss what we're playing and maybe we can play a game sometime. And you'll be updated on whatever other things we're working on at the same time. So I think that's it for me. So I'll talk to you guys later. What do you guys got to say to wrap it up?
Well, I will see you guys later. Have fun out there. Don't be toxic. Be positive. And yes, please go out. Find an artist. It can be a movie. It can be a game. It can be a show. It can be a song. But spread some love.
Yes, I agree. Positive is better. God bless you guys. We love you. Thank you for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye.